What is going on, guys? It's your boy Hammer here, and we're here to talk about probably the most asked question I've been getting this week. I'm not going to pretend that I've flooded my inbox or anything, but the one question people have been asking me over and over and over again: explain the macros, explain the flexible dieting. What does it all mean? Well, here we go. Alright, well, I'm here sipping on my pre-workout for my second workout today. We're going to go train some arms. Ooh, arms looking good. I'm going to try to break this down real quick. Macronutrients, alright? So, everybody wants a diet. Everybody wants to be on some type of diet. And the thing is, every diet, whether you're paleo, whether you're vegan, whether you're keto, whether you're carb cycling, whether you have some crazy name that I haven't heard of for your diet yet, it comes down to two basic things: a macronutrient breakdown and a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus if you're trying to gain weight. So what that means is that the body needs a certain amount of calories to just exist, to just maintain its weight. And there are some ways to calculate that. There's some online calculators, there's different things. It's called your total daily energy expenditure. And that's calories are a unit of energy. The food you eat is your energy. It's what gives you the energy for the day. And every calorie is one of three things. It's either protein, that's typically, your meats, your eggs, you get, a lot of dairy, things like that. It's a carbohydrate. When you think carbohydrate, you think like rice, potatoes, sugars, or fat, your animal fats, your butters, your olive oils, things like that. So every calorie is one of these three things. And the idea behind, if it fits your macros, behind flexible dieting, is not to make this convoluted, over complicated approach to dieting that everybody wants to put all these rules that make no sense. They want to they want to overcomplicate it, plain and simple. At the end of the day, your body needs that number. Remember the TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. So, for example, my total daily energy expenditure is around 3,800 calories. So the thing is, I need to eat 3,800 calories to stay the same. If I want to gain weight, I need to eat more than that, an excess of that. So I'm eating about 250 calories on top of that, plus the calories to offset my cardio. So my calories per day are 4,700 right now. And out of those 4,700, there's a breakdown that's going to be most beneficial, a ratio of those proteins, those fats, and those carbs. Now, to find that ratio, there's different things you got to play with. I do recommend going to someone who knows this stuff and can help tailor it to you and what works best for you. But like I said, there's online calculators where you can just punch this in and get a good starting point of what's going to work for you. So for me, let's say I'm at 40%, 45% carbs, 30 per or 25% protein. What does that put me at? 6. Let's keep it simple. Let's say for instance, mine have changed around a bit because I've been adjusting it to try to perfect it. But let's say a very simple, like 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat, for example. Now basically what that means is that 40% of my calories come from protein, 40% from carbs, and 20% from fat. And how you get those is not necessarily as important as just getting them. Everybody wants to say, okay, you have to eat fish, you have to eat vegetables, you have to time your meals this way, you have to time your meal that way, you can't have that carb because that carb is bad, this carb is good. You have to have brown rice, not white rice. You have to have this, that. And the thing is, as we learn more and more about the human body, we start to learn that as you're breaking down those carbs, at a certain point, your body's digesting, and that has the same molecule from an Oreo, it has the same molecule from rice, and it can't tell the difference. You're digesting the carbohydrate. Now, We can't take that to the extreme. I'm not telling you to get all your protein from protein powder, your carbs from pancakes, and your fats from, whipping cream, and eat one big meal at the end of the night. The point of this is not to abuse the idea behind it, but the point is to be flexible with your dieting. I just did a bodybuilding show. I was complimented on coming in with some of the best conditioning at the whole show. I'm going to show you a picture right now. I was doing this and people were talking about, oh, how stressful is the dieting? How this? Are you craving this? Are you craving that? And it's like, well, I was craving things because I was in caloric deficit. So I was hungry to a certain extent. However, people don't realize I was still having Pop-Tarts. I was still having cheeseburgers. I was still having all these foods that are bad foods. But when you're going and you're eating, if you're a traditional fitness bodybuilder, whatever you want to call yourself, if you're going to have 5 meals of 10 ounces of meat, and it has to be 1 meal is chicken and 1 meal is steak and 2 meals are fish, and every meal has 1/3 cup of jasmine rice, except 1 meal has 4 ounces of sweet potato. It's like, no. That's overly meticulous. And the thing is, if that's what works for you, good. But you can list out what you're eating, but what you don't realize is why it's working is you're hitting a certain macronutrient breakdown. You're hitting the right amounts of proteins, carbs, and fats. And the thing is, I did not believe this idea because it sounds too good to be true. The idea that these foods can still work, but I track every calorie I eat. Every single calorie I eat, I track in MyFitnessPal. So the way I started, the very first thing that started to get me to notice was when I switched from brown rice to white rice, and I said, hey, this is no difference whatsoever. And then it was in breakfast. Instead of having a full cup of oatmeal with my egg whites and my banana or whatever it was, I switched to a half cup of oatmeal and I got 1 Pop-Tart. People said, a Pop-Tart? That's going to make you fat. A Pop-Tart, that's bad carbs. You can't have that. That's not going to put on muscle. Well, I don't know. I think it's kind of putting on some muscle. And the thing is, I'm never miserable. I feel great. I'm excited to eat these foods. And like I said, some people love just doing the plain bodybuilder foods, and they have some weird sick badge of honor for making things more complicated than they used to be. But the thing is, if you're standing in front of a wall and you want to climb and climb and climb that wall, and then I'm standing there and I say, hey, there's a door right here and I can open it and walk through it. Once we both get on that other side, if you think you're the better for climbing over it, I'm obsessed with efficiency. So the thing is, dieting like this is actually a lot easier for me. It keeps me mentally satisfied. You're able to go out to eat places. Mostly I prep at home, and mostly I'm eating traditional foods because the thing is, it's going to be easier to hit your macros. And you do have to worry about micronutrients. That's why we can't just eat brownies and protein powder and make gains and be healthy. At a certain point, we have to worry about our health. But as far as body composition is concerned, putting on muscle, losing body fat, these macros are really what rules your day. And a lot of people that think they're on some kind of diet that's doing the work for them. I'm on keto. So they think that keto means because they're not eating carbs, they could eat as much fat and protein as they want. But what they don't realize is by cutting out an entire macronutrient, what they've done is forced themselves in a caloric deficit. So that's why they're losing weight. But the thing is, if you eat too many fats and too much protein, you will get fat. You will gain weight. You won't lose weight. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about if you are on a strict good food diet, if you are eating healthy, that's a blanket statement that most people don't understand. Eating healthy, you can eat chicken, egg whites, broccoli, spinach, jasmine rice, sweet potatoes, oatmeal. That's it. You could eat all these foods, or throw in some fruit. Only that. You're never going to eat anything besides those good foods. And you could eat too many of them and be putting on fat when you're trying to diet and you're eating all these clean foods. To the flip side of that is also, if you were trying to gain weight but you aren't eating a sufficient amount of these, you could be stuck putting on no muscle whatsoever. Now, I could take a similar approach to my diet, except So with my breakfast instead of my oatmeal, okay, well I had cinnamon pebbles cereal. Wait a minute, you can't have cereal. It's not as good as oatmeal. You know, for my lunch, maybe I want to have a little bit of rice with a little bit of and a muffin. I saw a muffin I really wanted. Whatever it is. You know, maybe I wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Who cares? The point is, if I know my macronutrient breakdown, if I've estimated, I found my TDE, remember that, the total daily energy expenditure. If I figured that out, and then I figured out the percentages I need, maybe it's that 40% protein, 40% carb, 20% fat. If I figured those things out, and I hit those using a wider variety of food, while still providing enough micronutrients, which is not that hard to usually do, I'm going to have better results than if you eat all the clean foods or the bro foods or whatever you wish to call them. I'm going to have better than results than you 10 times out of 10. This is something that I did not believe. I actually made a video years ago talking about how stupid this was, because it goes against what we want to think. Because we want to take pride in doing it hard. But you know what? I stopped being stubborn. I applied it. I've applied it to myself. I've applied it to clients. I've applied it to many people, and the results speak for themselves. I stay in good shape year round as a pro wrestler. I basically took a 3-week diet and walked into a bodybuilding competition, and hey, look at that, 3 trophies over there. Hey, look at that, championships, because my diet is on point daily, and it's not hard to stay on, because all I gotta do is when I eat something, pull it up on my phone, pull up the app, track my macronutrients. It's simple as that. As I go, I typically already have an understanding of how to hit them, but maybe towards the half end of the day, I have to take a look and see what's left and work around that. That's basically what it is. You're getting carbs, you're getting fats, you're getting proteins. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to limit yourself. You don't have to eat a certain amount of meals. Don't have to space them out a certain way. You don't have to stick to only certain protein sources or certain carb sources. As a competitor, as a bodybuilder, I never cut out artificial sweeteners. I never cut out dairy. I swear to you, I was eating Pop-Tarts and cheeseburgers the week of the show. I never changed anything about my diet, with the exception of reducing my total calories and reducing and adjusting my macronutrient ratios. That is it. It was never about which foods. It was about which macros. And I got there with a happy head, with a happy stomach, with a happy mouth, and with a shredded body. So that's it. I want you to message me. I feel like I might have missed some things, because to me, I've been doing this so long, it's kind of simple, but to some people, I'm sure there's questions out there. If you have questions, go ahead and shoot them my way. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Other than that, I got to finish getting down this pre-workout, and we got an arm session to kill, guys. Thanks for following your boy Hammer.